But with me coming up, he was like, I don't have to take this risk. I'm going to move up to the 170. I'm going to try to get another belt. And that's all, because he knows that I'm dangerous. He knows that I'm going to put him to sleep. Even Khabib. The only reason they don't want me to fight against him, because they know that I'm going to beat him.
Massive fight would be Ilia versus Islam too. Well, the other thing is too, is that Islam moves up, and obviously if Islam won the title, you know, you immediately have a super fight with him. And
Ilia Topuria didn't hold back during a recent Instagram live, where he set his sights on Islam Makhachev. The tension sparked after a clip surfaced of Islam saying, "If people want to see me lose, we can make that happen." Topuria was quick to respond, telling his viewers that not only could he be the one to hand Islam that loss, he'd do it in dominant fashion, with a knockout. This isn't out of character for Topuria, who's known for his unapologetic confidence and relentless approach inside the cage. But calling out someone as dominant and respected as Makhachev, that's raising the stakes to a whole new level.
Is there any headway on Islam, Makhachev, and Jack Della Maddalena if that title fight's going to get booked soon?
I'll let you know when we get it done.
And just kind of piggybacking off that, obviously with Ilia's win, you know, everyone's really excited to potentially see a future fight with him and Islam. I know that's the fight that people wanted. Ilia said earlier this week that if Islam loses that fight, he wouldn't give the opportunity for Islam to fight for his belt again. Is that something you'd bypass? Because that seems like such a big fight to make.
I mean, this is all talk.
Speculative.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
But I imagine that's a fight you guys would want to make at some point. I mean, just the magnitude of it.
I mean, I'd make that fight tomorrow.
Topuria hasn't held back in criticizing Islam Makhachev, accusing him of ducking real competition. According to Ilia, Islam and his team act like they created the sport itself, more focused on protecting their image than taking on dangerous opponents, that he even took a jab at the Dagestani crew, mocking them for what he claimed was more about lounging in the sun and blindly following orders than actually chasing the fights fans want to see. Meanwhile, Makhachev has stayed composed and distant. He's avoided trading insults, instead keeping it simple, saying he's open to any matchup that makes sense. And if people are eager to see him lose, he says, let them try.
See Ilia fighting Islam. He's only defended the belt once, and he's not that big of a star to just jump. He's not McGregor. You know what I mean? To just jump right up and fight.
Still, Islam's calm response didn't go unnoticed by Topuria. It was all the opening he needed. He jumped on it, using TikTok and Instagram stories to keep the pressure on, repeatedly accusing Makhachev of dodging a real fight. Topuria went as far as to call him a coward, saying Islam hides behind a carefully built reputation that doesn't reflect reality. He challenged the narrative that Makhachev is unbeatable, claiming the champ has never faced anyone with his kind of speed, accuracy, and unpredictability. Topuria didn't just promise victory. He promised to expose Islam. He said when the fight finally happens, fans will see Makhachev as just another man, not the invincible figure he's made out to be.
It was meant to be Islam, that was the big talk, but he moved up to welterweight. Do you believe he moved up to welterweight to avoid you, or because he has his own goals?
Because he has his own goals. This is what I think.
Do you still think that's a fight that should happen? You guys are both forging legacies in different weight divisions. Do you think that's a massive fight that should happen?
We'll see how he does in the welterweight division. If he wins the title, I win the title in the lightweight division. Maybe I move up or he comes down to the lightweight division and we have the fight that everyone.
Oliveira at UFC 317 in dominant fashion. He wasted no time eyeing his next move up the ladder. Oliveira, a former champion, had faced and finished elite competition, often enduring punishment few could survive. But against Topuria, it was different. Ilia didn't just win. He took the fight out of Oliveira and made it look almost effortless. That victory marked his third straight against top-tier opponents and, importantly, came at the 155-pound limit. It confirmed what many had started to believe. Topuria isn't just a powerhouse at featherweight. He's a serious threat at lightweight too now, with a lightweight division in flux and titles changing hands. Topuria is patiently waiting for the perfect moment to make his move and shake up the entire landscape.
Islam versus Topuria. I think I'm backing Islam, innit? I'm still gonna back Islam. Like I said, we've seen glimpses of his grappling. We haven't seen his grappling against anyone as good as Islam. Like, don't forget, Islam subbed Oliveira. So there is levels, what his abilities are. So I'd say, on the feet, Ilia will be problems for Islam because he cracks, innit?
Islam is not.
Islam Makhachev, on the other hand, chose a different route. Rather than defending his lightweight crown against Topuria or any other surging contender, he set his sights on a move up to 170 pounds. His next challenge? Jack Della Maddalena, a fast-rising welterweight with sharp boxing and a growing fan following. The bout is expected to headline UFC 321, likely happening in Saudi Arabia this October. If the fight goes ahead as planned, it would give Makhachev the chance to join the elite ranks of two division champions, an accomplishment that has lured many legends in the sport. But this move hasn't come without controversy. By chasing history, Makhachev may have put the potential showdown with Topuria on the back burner, leaving fans wondering if that highly anticipated clash will ever happen.
Coach, how do you compare Islam's boxing level to Topuria's? Who would win in a boxing match? That's from Jalal. Pound for pound, look, I would tell you it's going to be Topuria. Topuria is a natural puncher. He's very talented. He's obviously that's his I would say his bread and butter. You know, that's how he wins his fights. They say he's a good wrestler. He's a good grappler as well, of course. But, you know, his big thing is he's a stellar boxer. He has great KO power. He has incredible head movement, beautiful defense, footwork, rhythm.
Even with Islam shifting divisions, UFC President Dana White hasn't closed the door on a potential clash between Makhachev and Topuria. During an appearance on the Full Send podcast, Dana made it clear, if Islam captures the welterweight title, a super fight with Ilia becomes a very real possibility. That he described it as a massive matchup and said the UFC is keeping all options open, depending on how things unfold. At the same time, Dana reminded fans that in this sport, nothing is guaranteed. Still, his words sent a clear message. The UFC is already laying the groundwork. And if both fighters keep winning, a high-stakes showdown between Topuria and Makhachev might just be inevitable.
You said that you're ready to go up a division. There's a tweet from Ilia Topuria that he can go up the weight and he can beat you with no problem. What do you think about that?
Не знаю, еще столько соперников, и все хотят меня там в первом, во втором раунде финишировать, все говорят об этом, но я же сказал, сделайте 70 килограмм, заходите в клетку и посмотрим, кто кого финиширует.
What remains unclear is how the weight classes will shape the potential matchup. Topuria is still officially competing at lightweight, and after UFC 317, he assured reporters that he wouldn't abandon the division, an important commitment, especially for the UFC, which is keen to avoid title bottlenecks and inactive belts. However, recent reports suggest that Topuria may be more than capable of making the jump to 170 pounds. With a naturally powerful frame, strong hydration levels, and a dense build, many believe he could carry the extra weight without sacrificing performance. That possibility only adds fuel to the fire. If Topuria can move up to welterweight and maintain his trademark speed and explosiveness, then a showdown with Makhachev at 170 becomes not just possible, but highly intriguing. Interview 8.
Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev is the fight I'm dying to see. They're both very similar, high-level striking and grappling. Not to mention they both have extreme power and high fight IQ. Us MMA fans want to see the best versus the best, and this is it, guys. But the question remains, who wins this elite war? Let me know in the comments.
There's another interesting layer to this potential showdown. Despite his dominance, Islam Makhachev has never been viewed as a particularly large fighter for his division. In fact, some argue he's on the smaller side even at 170 pounds. So, if Topuria can bulk up naturally and carry the weight well, the size gap between them might not be as significant as people think. Meanwhile, Makhachev's longtime teammate, Umar Nurmagomedov, recently hinted that Islam could always drop back down to lightweight if the right fight came along. In other words, if the matchup with Topuria becomes big enough, they are willing to make it happen, wherever it makes the most sense. That kind of flexibility is exactly what the UFC thrives on, two stars capable of meeting at multiple weight classes, both with championship pedigree or serious momentum, and both bringing different styles, backgrounds, and fan bases to the table.
Fighting next, Ilia Topuria, or should he get the rematch with Charles Oliveira?
Man, that's tough to say. Who's next in line right now for him? Do you know?
Could be Oliveira, could be Topuria if he goes up.
Yeah, but there's still guys, I think, at 45 for Topuria to fight. And I've never seen Topuria in person, but if he can make 145, dude, Islam's a big guy.
Big guy.
Big. I think he's going to be a lot bigger than Topuria. But that being said, Topuria is an assassin, and I believe he can knock out anybody from 145 pounds to 170 pounds.
You think Islam could become the champ?
Adding even more intrigue to the situation is Ilia Topuria's rapid ascent. In just a few short years, he's gone from promising up-and-comer to one of the UFC's most marketable stars. His Spanish-Georgian background, knockout power, and confident MIC presence have helped him capture global attention. Whether it's the way he commands press conferences, locks eyes during face-offs, or delivers inside the octagon, Topuria has become a brand, not just a fighter, and that kind of meteoric rise comes with its own pressure. Fighters with that kind of momentum don't sit on the sidelines for long. The UFC knows this. Either they capitalize on the buzz, or they risk letting the moment slip away.
Topuria is vacated, right? So that's the difference now is Topuria is saying, like, I'm no longer at that division. Like, I'm now at lightweight.
With the confidence from knocking out Holloway and Volkanovski back to back, he thinks that, hey, I can knock these guys out. But the only fight he's had at 55, he's gotten dropped by Jai Herbert. And then we've seen him get like out-muscled and out-wrestled by a couple guys at 45. I think Islam's just going to be way too big for
Ilia Topuria continues to draw attention from all corners of the fight world, whether it's admiration, criticism, or direct call-outs after a devastating streak of knockout victories. One of the most respected voices to recently speak up is Max Holloway, who not only acknowledged Topuria's rapid rise, but also expressed interest in running it back. Holloway has already shed the cage with Ilia. He knows firsthand what Topuria brings, something many fighters only speculate about. In their first meeting, Holloway held his own early, trading shots and staying composed. But one explosive punch from Topuria turned the fight on its head in an instant. Speaking on the Shock Fu podcast, Holloway didn't hold back in his praise. He pointed out how the UFC has consistently thrown top-tier names at Topuria, and how Ilia has steamrolled them without hesitation. Still, Max made a fair observation. He mentioned that some of Topuria's opponents, like Alexander Volkanovski, who was fresh off a brutal knockout by Islam Makhachev, and Charles Oliveira, who had just one win before facing Ilia, weren't exactly in peak form. But even with that context, Holloway gave credit where it was due. He said the results speak for themselves. Topuria got the job done flawlessly.
Ilia Topuria may be one of my favorite guys to watch stylistically. How he doesn't force things, not getting emotional, not pushing too hard, also not taking his foot off the gas too much. He's just right there in the middle until he lands the big knockout punch. So I think he could catch Islam, but if that fight goes anything past 15 minutes, I think Islam beats him handedly, just because Islam is a large 155er, and I don't think Ilia is that big.
Islam. But make no mistake, Max Holloway wants that rematch. And this time, there's an added twist. The BMF title. Holloway isn't just calling for a second shot at Topuria, he's putting something real on the line. In classic Holloway fashion, he threw down the gauntlet, saying if Ilia wants to claim the BMF name, he'll have to come on it the hard way. The message was loud and clear. Holloway sees unfinished business between them, and now that Topuria holds a lightweight title, the stakes have never been higher. Known for chasing wars and never ducking the toughest fights, Holloway isn't just hyping a rematch, he's ready to make it count. And by putting the BMF belt up for grabs, he's making sure this fight would mean even more.